Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.
Okay, we were back to recording. I couldn't move the screen around while we were recording, but I'm going to introduce our speakers. I have a announcement to make, if you will. Unfortunately, one of our speakers, our keynote speaker, if you will, our featured speaker, Mr. George Tinsley, is sick, and so he can't join us this morning, and he sends his regrets, and we are going to reschedule him for a later time. And I did want to at least share a little bit, if you will, about George, because I think, at least in the context of what we're going to be talking about today, it may be helpful to be able to do that. So he is a 10-time Hall of Famer, both business and athletics, and recently wrote a book called Catch as Catch Can. I'm going to share my screen to show that to you. So I'm on his website right now, which is tinsley.speaks.com, in case anyone wants to go back to the website later on to see more about him. And so get down to the book here. Let's see. There we go. Catch as Catch Can. And it's been doing very well. And one of the things about the written word, guys, is you saw in the emails that we sent out, and that was that books and the written word have a way of positioning you as an expert in your field. And so I really encourage you. You see here at 9-time Hall of Famer, he's added one more since the website, so I guess they haven't put it up there yet. It gives you a great opportunity to position yourself as it relates to what you're doing and what you're all about. But it gives people, like, if you wrote a book for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, people see you as an expert. When you put something out in the written word, even when you are, sharing an opinion, a thought, a thesis or whatever, when you write something down, it just seems to give a certain authoritative feel and twist to it. And so I encourage you, anyone here who is looking to elevate their brand and to put yourself in a position to increase the level of expertise that you are perceived in terms of your brand, and also to be able to learn more about what you are about, is a great way when you put it in writing for people, to see. And so for anyone here that may be interested, the book Catch as Catch Can, and it's now available through Amazon, and you can also buy it at Barnes & Noble. I will tell you that it is a very captivating read. George was left by his mother when he was just a little kid, and with his grandmother, I'm not grandmother, his babysitter, and grew up in a basically one-room shack in Louisville, Kentucky. And until 13 years old, he was sleeping with his babysitter because they only had one bed in one room. And so you can only imagine, if you think back to, growing up from 2 years old to being 13 years old and sleeping with your babysitter, and he even tells a story about how she got bit by a rat during this series. I mean, it's just a very, very, if you will, heart-wrenching story. But now, he's a multimillionaire, and just, he has become known as Mr. Turning Obstacles into Opportunities. And it's very, if you will, inspiring, and so on and so forth. All right. So what are we going to do since this guy who I just built up is not with us here today? Well, fortunately, we have two really outstanding individuals here with us today. Um, so I was saying that we've got two individuals here that are going to take the place, not take the place, but take up some of the time and space that we had allocated for George. And so the first person we're going to hear from is Abdul Muhammad. And so I am going to share my screen here so that we can learn a little more about Abdul. You heard him introduce himself here just a little bit earlier. And Abdul is a marketing genius. He's a real major strategist. And as you can see here about Abdul, he specializes in business and personal strategy. Also, he is a mindfulness expert. And so he also helps to foster growth and holistic impact in your life. His company offers fractional C-suite services, executive coaching, training, and mindful leadership retreats. And his superpower is personal and business growth strategy. And I can tell you from having worked with Abdul and knowing a little bit about him, as a matter of fact, he also worked with George Tinsley to that website that you were looking at. His company actually produced that website, so you see some of his work there that we were looking at on the website there. And Abdul is a brand strategist, digital marketing expert, and so on and so forth. But one of the things that he specializes in, and as you're looking at his profile on this page, you can read a little bit more as I'm talking as it relates to him. His background is as a chief digital officer for one of the leading media companies, media agencies in the United States, RBB Communications. And he was also the director of social marketing for Zimmerman Advertising. So he has a long history in digital marketing and also communications and media strategy. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to put the spotlight on Abdul Muhammad. And Abdul, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to move the needle to give you a little more time. So it's 8:47. Let's wrap up right about 9:02, and then we'll do a Q&A. If you decide you want to stop a little earlier and just go ahead and answer some questions, feel free, to do that as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend, digital brand strategy marketing master Abdul Muhammad.
Thank you all. Thank you, Hutch, for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with the ICABA community. As Hutch mentioned, I've been part of the community and seen the growth, and I've watched what Hutch has done in a space and place where there are truly challenges. And he has exhibited all of the things that I work with executives, creators, and entrepreneurs to develop. And that's this resilience and this rooting in authenticity, passion, and pure alignment with what your passion is and what you're actually doing for a living. And we call that lifestyle synthesis. And when your heart and your mind are aligned with the divine, then life's gifts show up on time. Yeah, I got a little rhyme in there. We're gonna get a little rhyme in there. And so we like to keep things fun as we educate. We work in a place in a space called edutainment, and I'm excited to be here and share about my own personal journey, personal branding, and a brand transition that I'm actually going through now, where I can share some insights that hopefully will inspire you as you all take on your journey of personal branding. And so I just want to take pause and just acknowledge the other speakers and all of you for being here today. It takes a lot for you to get up and put your time, energy, and effort into investing in you, the most important thing in the world. And oftentimes we are in a culture and a society that chases after money rather than understanding that right here inside of us is everything we need in order to be wildly successful and to have a world of abundance and wealth. And so, Hutch mentioned I work with George Tinsley, and one of the other people that I have the pleasure of working with is Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who speaks a lot and has written, is a New York Times best-selling author 2 times. And you all most probably know him for Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. And the intelligence, the knowledge, the wisdom that is in that book, that is the combined wisdom and insight of Dr. Dennis Kimbrough and Napoleon Hill, rooted in the growth mindset, is sort of the mindful approach that I like to bring to business. And when I speak about marketing, oftentimes I like to go where most marketers and business conversations don't go. There's a lot of expertise out there about skills and what to actually do. And I like to focus with the entrepreneurs, the creators, and the community leaders that I work with from a branding and communication standpoint to actually start first with a way of being. And when you root yourself in a way of being before doing or communicating, everything you do from that point on reflects your humanity. And we're in a world and an age where AI is running everything, and that's great. And we have to look at this as an opportunity for us to do the one thing that AI and technology cannot do, which is the human touch. And at MDM Ventures, when we work with clients from a brand marketing, brand development standpoint, strategically, we look at three key elements. Business. People do business with people. And so when you root yourself in the people first as a way of being, that defines and roots everything you do from a marketing and branding and a communication standpoint into your humanity, into the people. And when you root yourself in that, then you have a framework for integrated communications where you build that brand strategy from, and you can utilize technology to accurately pinpoint who you want to communicate to, where you want to communicate that message, and then how you want to communicate it. And you can do this at scale by leveraging AI and technology. And so we look at the people, rooting that message in a way of being, and then how we then communicate the humanity into the brand. And when you communicate these characteristics, these values, the way of being, when someone shows up in the room and they walk into a room, you recognize them. You see the clothes they're wearing. Hutch, he's got this presence to him. He steps in the room, he's got this look, right? It's a way of being that Hutch always is. This is the same way we approach personal branding and the same way we approach business branding. As a business, you're going to be hiring people that will then be your communicators. They will then be your representatives, and you have no control over them. So in this space and place, from a brand communication and marketing standpoint, it behooves you to have a unified communication structure that you can easily hand to everyone that gets brought into your space and place. So you hire a new employee, immediately in their onboarding, they're aligned with the way of being. It becomes a culture. It's the way that they communicate customer service. It's the way that they write emails. It's the way that they show up. It's the way that they greet people, right? And so when you first take pause, take a nice deep breath, let all of the noise and the clutter sort of just subside, and you root yourself in the humanity of your business, why you're doing business. Simon Sinek likes to call it the why, passion, right? I said a little earlier, when your heart and your mind are aligned with the divine, right? We were all born here to give a gift, to leave something here on the planet. And when we're doing work, oftentimes there's a separation with what we were born here, our divinity, and what we are supposed to do here on the planet. And oftentimes people lose sight of that, and then they start working for money. And this is a disconnect for who we are on the planet, to disconnect from our humanity, to disconnect from our authenticity. And authenticity is what makes people remember who you are. It what makes people remember your brand. It what makes people remember being a part of a community. And the future of branding and marketing is all about the individuals who are able to clearly communicate a specific message, and to be able to galvanize a community that regularly engages, that produces money, revenue, that sells product and sells service. And it's about the brand. It's not about the product or service. When you look at personal branding and rooting everything in people do business with people, over the course of your life, as Hutch mentioned, I used to be like at RBB and I had this career doing that. And in 2020, I started MDM Ventures and I started to dig into my own divinity, my own faith, my own passion, my humanity, what I'm here, the gifts that I'm here to leave on the planet that only I can do, where there's no competition, where I don't need to look at what my competitors are doing. All I need to do is get clarity inside without the noise. What was I put here on the planet to do? What are my skill sets? How do I communicate that in a way that other people around me want to support whatever that vision is? And then have other people support whatever that vision is regularly. This is called culture, right? Community builds culture. Culture is what shifts and transforms what takes place in society. Those who understand and control that, where the trends are going, are the brands, the marketers, the businesses that will be successful in the future. Those who always stay in the present moment and look around competition, etc., and are not aligned with who they are and who they serve. This is why when you listen to Hutch and how he's positioned as one who is a servant leader, right? Who he serves, he listens for and accurately delivers what's most important to who he serves. So he created a platform, not for himself, not for business, but for his divinity of what God put him here on the planet to do for society. And when you do that, you have everyone else that's willing to step in, because what you're doing and creating as a business, as a culture, as a community is greater than an individual. And that's when you are able to start building a brand. And then from that point on, you have people that are engaged, people that are aligned with your ethos, with where the vision is going strategically. A lot of times, again, it's a way of being. Being is strategy. Doing is getting stuff done. You ever been super busy and at the end of the day, you're like, I did all this stuff, but you ain't really get nothing done? Right? Like 80% of what we do is like that. We've been programmed and conditioned to do that because we go to school to work for someone else. We don't go to school to learn how to build a brand. We don't go to school to learn how to identify who you are, what you were put on the planet to do, and those who you should serve with that gift. I'll say that again, because that's masterful marketing. We always go to the skills, what we got to do, how we got to communicate, where we got to go. You oftentimes look at those who are the wealthiest. They're not on social media. You don't even see them. They got 0 following. Some of them don't even have social media profiles. They got all the wealth and influence in the world. And I'm not saying that social media is not important, but what I'm saying is that those of us who have mastered already social media, there's so much information about what to do, right? What's missing is who you're being when you finally touch someone. It ain't just about getting in the room. If you get in the room and you look funky, ain't nobody doing business with you, right? And so oftentimes we spend a lot of time on those things out there. And what I'd like to offer today is, as you look at your business and building your personal brand, is think about it as first prioritizing you internally. Take pause, take a deep breath. And I'd like all of us to take a deep breath right now and see how this feels. Just shifting, right? So I want to invite you all just to get to a comfortable seated position wherever you are. And if you're standing like me, I like to stand. Get a little movement in there. It's early in the morning. I don't know if you guys got a little movement in there or not. You know, if you haven't, come on. I want to see some faces. I want to see some smiles. Let's get some energy going. And as we're doing that, we're going to connect to what's called the vagus nerve, right? And we're going to do that by breathing some slow, deep breaths in through the nose. Let's do it together now. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3, in through the nose, a nice, slow, deep breath. 1, 2, 3, in. And let it out. Nice big sigh. Come on with me. Don't be shy out there. Come on, anybody looking at you? You're on camera with me. Come on. Big deep breath in. One more time. One more time. And as you connect with the breath, just relax. There's nothing so important going on in the world. You're the most important thing. Take time for yourself always. Last deep breath. Just for you. Give gratitude for what you're doing here today. All right. So breathing is one of the most important things you can do to be an effective entrepreneur, to be an effective human being. And I'm going to end what I'm saying today by rooting you all in the breath. The breath activates your power. The breath is your source. The breath is what connects you to your creativity. Creativity that created AI and the technology we're communicating on. There's nothing greater than what we have in here. And access to that so that you can express it creatively in your business and in your personal brand. The way you get to that is simply, it's free. It's through the breath. So I encourage you to explore the power of activating the mind first, rooting yourself strategically in a way of being before you do anything, communications, marketing, or branding. And I know a lot of you are on here, so I want to just now end and let you know that I want to open up the floor to conversation around anything personal branding, communications, marketing, as it relates to books, your business, and also personal development. And I'm here to serve you. And so based on all of that stuff I threw out there, Hutch knows I like to throw stuff out like spaghetti because I don't know who I'm talking to. And hopefully something clicks and resonates. I deal in both the right and the left side of the brain. And we focus on building a culture of health and wealth first. And so please feel free to ask any questions as to how any of the things that I may have mentioned today apply to any of your businesses that you're working on. Thank you for listening.
Great job. Thank you very much.
And I want to ask a question to kind of start some of the conversation off here a little bit. And that is, when you're writing a book, and as I mentioned about the expertise, the authoritative kind of aspect that comes with being an author. And what kind of things, if you said, if there were two things that if you're writing a book, that book can do for you and that you should do, okay, in order to get to that point, meaning that if the book can help you to elevate your awareness in the marketplace, how do you take that book to help you to do that? And if the book can also put you in a position, say, to get speaking engagements or other kind of things that, again, enhance your awareness and engagement, but also drive revenue. Can you just speak to those two things, and just kind of give an example of how you think that those things can benefit those who may be thinking about, using book publishing as a way to be able to elevate their brand and drive additional revenue and income?
Great question. And what I would say is when you're creating a book, books by themselves, as you mentioned, and they're not like the revenue driver. So you have to think about books differently. And also now that AI is available, the ability to create a book has just been dramatically increased in the time in which people are able to create books and the volume of people creating books. Your competition has exploded, right? And so you can't just think about creating a book in the traditional sense now. You have to be creative with how you're looking at publishing a book. And you have to utilize the technology in a creative way that supports however your business is. And I'll give you an example. I'm currently writing a book. And so I knew that I wanted to write a book for about 3 years. And I thought about what I would write that book about and how I would build that book to build my brand, but also to monetize, like Hutch said. And so I started with strategy and I looked at from this book, I want to do high ticket sales. And so I started to build what's called a sales funnel first. I identified from this book, who is it that I want to speak to? So that's first. Identify who it is that you want to speak to in the book. And the way I did that is I said, look, if I'm writing this book, it's an investment. It's going to cost me a lot of time, effort, energy, money to put it out and market it before the money comes back. So you have to approach writing a book like a business. So first I would start with making sure you have a P&L where you're starting to audit your time put in and all of your expenses so that from the very beginning, you're training your brain. A lot of times, again, the doing, right? Train your brain right away that this is an investment. It's not, you're not writing a book for the halibut, the fish, it's an investment. And so from the very beginning, treat it as an investment. It shifts the way you operate and determine your time. Then you identify who is it that you want to write this book for? What is it that you want them to do? And how much money you want to make from them, right? And then you start to identify that. So for my book, I'm writing a book for entrepreneurs, creators, and community leaders. Entrepreneurs, creators, and community leaders. I then use ChatGPT to identify the pains and gains is the language we use. I operate everything from a business model canvas. You can check it out. It's called BCM. It's a way to structure your business and identify very strategically, clearly, who it is that you're talking to. So you don't waste time and you're efficient and you make sure that you're going to hit your mark and make money. And so those three people that I'm targeting, right? I'm identifying with ChatGPT. And if you guys aren't aware, there's a new AI out there now called DeepSeek that's free. That's better than ChatGPT 4. I've been using it. And 100% I compare chats. It's free. It's dope. If you're not on it, use it. It is getting a little busy now because everybody's like buzzing and it just crushed NVIDIA. And they popped that up so quick and for 6 mil. So I would highly recommend that. But utilize those things to then identify, and I would put in there business model canvas. If I was creating a business model canvas for this individual, what are the pains and gains? Identify the top three things that entrepreneurs, small business, like who you're targeting. And then it spits out these pains for you. And then what you want to do is you want to solve the problems. You want to give creative solutions to those problems. And when you're writing your book, you want your experiences, right? Your stories to the outcome of those stories in those books to be solving that problem. So then you take the same list that the chat GPT gave you, the problem, pain, and gain, right? And you go, right now, give me the top three things that I should do step by step to solve these problems. Now, I'm a growth strategist. What I sell, as I mentioned from the very beginning, are three things. I sell
Hey,
strategy.
Abdul, let me just kind of pull you back just a little bit so we don't run out of time for Teresa and see if I had any other questions because you were doing a great job of answering mine, but I want to make sure that we don't lose everybody else here before we jump into Teresa. So
Got
apologize
it.
for jumping in there. Sorry.
Got you. No problem.
Anybody else have a question that you want to ask? Just turn your mic on and go ahead and speak to Abdul.
I have a question, and my voice is a little raspy. I've got something here, but I appeal to two very different audiences. I have
Mm-hmm.
high ticket coaching sales, and then I have people who basically are struggling quite a bit. And what I find is that although I can speak to both of those audiences, and I should say I'm getting ready to launch my brand with me as the avatar. Do I need two different brands, or how do you manage a situation where your audiences that resonate with you are totally different and they're looking for different things?
Yeah.
Was that Rita speaking? So I just
Yes,
want
yes,
okay.
yes, that's me.
Rita from the Space Coast. All right.
Rita, thank you. Without having more information and background, just based on what you said, it sounds like I would approach that differently. You've got different audiences, so the pains and gains of one audience is different. So I would separate those things. The things that they relate to are different. So there are ways that you could do it from one brand and then sort of segment it out. But based on just hearing what you just said without having more information, I would separate those brands. People who are high end typically don't like to, you know, necessarily be associated with, things that are not relating to them. They don't want, it's a waste of time for them to be filtering through information that's not relevant because you're trying to reach too much. I would always focus on just being clear about who it is that you're targeting and making that experience feel as high touch and customized for them as possible. Own one thing first. Once you're known for one thing as a brand, then you can expand and have that brand sell anything you want to. So if I were you, I would look at number one, the people who have money. It's a business. You're not doing this for charity. So go get known in the high end, period. Get known, write the book first for the people who got the money. That's going to drive your money. That's going to make you money to pay the bills, period. Because if your cash flow is not right, all of that other stuff for the people who are like that, who we serve, right? I'm a socialpreneur, just like you. But the problem and the challenge with us is this: we're called forth with the heart to serve the people who ain't got the flow. And we're not having enough flow, and we're doing God's work. So you have to build your brand first, where you're solid and you making money, period. And that's where the wealth is. And then you have a solid foundation there. You can pop out any sort of brands underneath that once you're solid and known, because what you're saying is the same thing, but who you're saying it to is different. So get known for that thing from the people who got the money, who gonna be there forever, and then go serve. Once you're put the mask on your face first, right?
Thank you.
Good, good. Well, listen, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring up Teresa here in just a second, but I am doing something that hopefully you will find beneficial and helpful. So, two things that you've heard today, and that was one about using AI to help you in the book writing process. So, if you look in the chat, you will see that I actually, while we've been talking, jumped on Chat GPT and asked Chat GPT, I gave it a prompt. And the prompt that I gave it was simply just asking it how to integrate AI into the book writing process. And so I got a 5-point document here. I've actually printed it out for myself, but it's in the chat, and take a look at it, and that may be of some help to you as well. I also did a 10-point discussion outline about leveraging your book and the release of it to elevate awareness, engage audiences, and so on and so forth, which I'll share. The last thing is I also put, and you have to scroll up a little bit because the information about the book writing probably took you down a little bit, but if you scroll up beyond this information from AI, you'll see that I put a link for anybody who may need to get a business model canvas. So if you're not familiar or you've never done a business model canvas, I put a link in there that will take you to where you can download that business model canvas and you'll be able to use it. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead. Denise, you got a quick question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what was the name of the AI tool that you mentioned?
Chat GPT.
DeepSeek.
And he mentioned
No, the other one.
DeepSeek. DeepSeek.com.
Okay, thank you.
DeepSeek.
Thanks.
Good deal. All right.
So
So
I just want one last thing on that. Like, again, the point that I just wasn't able to make, and I apologize. I'm very, like, I get in and kind of give you what you need step by step to do it. But the last point I wanted to make is, when you're thinking about creating your book, like, it can't be the same type of book that's on everyone's bookshelf. You have to think integration. Now, Hutch has been hearing me talk this for about 5 years. You got to put scan tech in it. And when I was getting to those pains and gains, every chapter, you should have a call to action. There's a reason why someone took that time to read that. And so you want to tell them what you want to tell them what you told them, and then tell them what you want to do with it. And that scan at the end is what monetizes you. And if they like that and they were enrolled in that chapter, you need to give them a reason where they can get more from you. So it's a way to get people in to get more in-depth B-roll information, to give additional information so you can use that book chapter to drive a specific list. So things like what Hutch just did in less than 3 minutes, it's value. And you can, at the end of the chapter, say, hey, if you want the top 10, blah, 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 ways to do X, Y, Z, right? Scan, and then they can immediately get it on their phone. And those are the types of things that aren't in traditional books. So you have to start thinking about how the book becomes an experience. It becomes a 3D experience now, utilizing scan technology and integrating into the products and services that you sell. If you sell merchandise, how in that story are you saying that your merchandise solves that problem, and then give a call to action right there in the paragraph to get a BOGO on it. And then boom, they scan it. They go to your landing page. You're getting data. You're integrating that data real time. You're asking them to connect on social media. So the book has to be a living, breathing organism that actually works for you. And when you do it with scan technology and you root it in that code, what happens is someone buys the book once. Next year, you can update the information that stuff scans to. So the person can have the book, and literally every year you can put out a new volume, new stuff, and drive different products and services, and then have a customer for life. If you want to know more about how to do those things, hit your boy up, Abdul.
All right, Abdul, we got it. So I was going to bring on Teresa, but I don't see her on camera, and I just sent her a chat. Teresa, are you there? Okay, so I'm not seeing her here. I'm going to go ahead and share. I mentioned to you, and we'll talk about this for the rest of the time that we have here. So what I'm putting into the chat right now is a 10-point outline, again, that I just literally just took off of Chat GPT. And it talks about the things that you do in order to leverage your book in order to be able to get what you need out of it in terms of elevating your awareness and also being able to get what you need in terms of additional revenue and engagement with target audiences and so on and so forth. I am adding right now some more information in about that. And so, okay. So I just realized here I need to give me just a second. I'm gonna put this in
While you're doing that, I'm gonna share some other things with people who are interested in books. Some of the other things that you should think about is right now audiobooks are at an all-time high. So people are listening more. So again, people look at books traditional. Stop looking at books traditional. If you're thinking about writing a book, don't think about writing a book like how those books used to be. Think about when you read a book, you're reading it with your phone. Think about how you want to consume information. Stop thinking about how everybody does things, and think about how you want to do things. This is a new paradigm for creating books. So audio right now is at an all-time high. So if you're looking at creating a book and you may be a better speaker, right? Like me, I could talk for days. You got to shut me up. So I'm not sitting there typing nothing. I'm writing my book in a certain way. I also like to do funny voices and things like that because I'm an actor and I like to have fun and I like to let energy out so that I'm operating at a high frequency and my energy level is up, right? So if you want to let that out and you want to have a way to creatively express, then perhaps you should start with an audio book. It's easier, quicker, costs you less. It's a quick way to distinguish yourself from other places. It allows you to test things first. And then again, go use AI and say, hey, by the way, there's a whole bunch of quick self-publishing ways that are low cost, high revenue, where you can do that. And if you have a voice and you like to mess with voices and do things like this, there's a lot of money involved in that as well. And when you use AI, you can create scripts, you can do mini books, you can drop mini series. So again, think about being a creator as opposed to I'm writing a book to do something. Think about how you're utilizing a book as a content platform and how it connects to every other communication platform you have. And so when you're in your social media and you have a book that's out, you can have content that is only in your book that they can only get if they purchase the physical book, but you're promoting that content in your digital emails. So now you're driving people who may be on your email list. Now you're making them buy the physical book, but what they get when they get the physical book, right? Everything is Zoom oriented. How do you then create a physical experience for a small, intimate group where they get to feel you for that signed book? How do you create a book that looks different, that has senses, right? The book cover is different. You spend a little extra on the book cover because it's style. Like you guys see me right now, I'm wearing my hat. I try to be a stylish person. So how can my humanity show up in my book such that when it's on the shelf and people are walking by, just like when they walk in a room, I'm not trying to look like Hutch. Hutch is way more handsome than I am. And he's about 8 foot taller than me, right? I got to dress up. I got to talk loud. I got to jump. I got to do something to get attention. I've got to look different. I've got to be a personal brand. So how do you bring that into your book? Bring audio, right? Don't think about a book as one layer. Get jiggy with it. You got to think
Right.
about it. How are you utilizing this to engage, right? Connect and keep your community. It's a culture. How do you create a culture? So when I'm writing my book is about people who are interested in a culture of health and wealth. Now, who do you target? Again, you want to target when you're writing a book authentically about you. That's what's going to make people connect to the book. There's 8 billion people in the world. Not everybody's going to resonate with your story. Don't give a crap about the people who don't like you, how you talk. You got to go for the people that are always going to like your energy, etc. Double down on it. Don't worry about the other people, right? So when you're doing that,
Abdul, got you.
yes, sir.
I know I got to cut you off, man, because you run. So,
You
but
know,
I
Trying to
appreciate
provide
that.
value, brother.
But Jackie had a question. So Jackie, up to
I
you.
have a question because, I have Dr. Terrence House here, and he has written a book, and he is in that process. So he can't do what you've already done because his book is already written, right? So where can he put that book? So give him some ideas on, for social media groups. Where do book people put books once they're written?
Who did he write the book for?
Terrence is here. He can answer that.
Yeah. Well, let me do this. Hold on for just a second. Terrence,
Because that's how you answer the question. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody jumps to the do, and it's like, you got to take pros. Like, it ain't about what, like, you may not even need to use it. Who did he write the book for?
So hold tight, Abdul, on that question. Hold tight for just a second, because I think something that is extremely critical that Abdul has said a few things I really wanted to amplify. And this last thing is about who did you write the book for? I mean, clearly, we sometimes do things because we want to do it, and that's great, okay? But the other thing is that if you're doing something for the public and you're trying to reach somebody, you always got to make sure that you know who that person is, or individuals or group or whatever it is that you're trying to reach, and speak to what it is you think that they're interested in, what they want to know, and so on and so forth. I also wanted to add a couple of things, and then Terrence, we're going to bring you up to answer the question and talk a little bit about your book. And that's this, because and this has been available to us for quite some time. When you write a book today, it would be almost, I won't say it was criminal, but not to, if you will, engage some of the people who you are writing the book for in the process of writing the book. And this is what I mean. So if I'm writing a book talking about how to build a community for Black professionals and entrepreneurs, well, clearly I'm in that space, so I have obviously some experience in that. But even having experience in that, I would start out with a premise and bring in people in the community and say, hey, what have you seen? What have you experienced in being in a community? And what would you want to know that I could talk about that either you want to experience being in a community, or you may want to experience organizing your own community? Well, the point I'm really making is, in the internet, social media, virtual things like Zoom and so on allows you to talk to people and engage them in the process of anything that you're doing, before, doing, and after. So that's the before part. The doing would be while you're writing the book. Anyone who's expressed interest in wanting to be reading the book and interest in what you're talking about, you can share things that you're going to write with the book with them and just see how they react to it as you go along the way. You're going to probably find several things. There'll be some things that they're going to like. There's going to be some things they're not going to like, but there's also going to be things that they're going to recommend to you that you hadn't thought about. So by the time you get to the end of that book, you will have already tweaked that book based upon the feedback from the group. Also, and guess what? If those people were in that process with you along the way, that when you go publish that book, they become, if you will, your ambassadors. Because now you didn't just write the book, they wrote the book with you. So keep that in mind in terms of the process and so on and so forth. All right, so Terrence, we're going to pull you up. And I received a text message from Teresa. She had an urgent emergency come up while online here, so she had to jump off, and she apologizes. And so just wanted to let you guys know, because we didn't know what was going on here either. So Terrence, introduce yourself again for those who may not have been on here when you first introduced yourself, and then tell us about the book that you're writing, and also, obviously, as the question being on the table, who did you write the book for?
Yes, my name is Dr. Terrence House. I'm currently reside here in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I wrote a book about Tidy A. Pickett. She was the first African American woman to participate in the Olympics. I wrote this book for those who are seeking hope, self-improvement, and those of us who came from the bottom of society. Now, this is a book about resilience and perseverance and things of that nature. And the one of the great things about Tidy A. Pickett, she was my elementary school principal, and
Thanks.
I may have frozen up on us here. Okay. So while we're hopefully he'll unfreeze, if you will.
I did put a link in the chat that gives you a little bit of the story behind it.
this was my first for hope and all those things.
You know what? You froze up a little bit, Terrence. So we kind of like pretty much after your intro, after you said she was your principal, we didn't hear anything.
And this, well, what part did you miss? It's like for those of us who come from the bottom of society, it's given hope, self-improvement, and and resilience and things of that nature. And this book talks about her being a two-time Olympian and talks about how to not quit when obstacles are placed in front of you and things of that nature. And I think that's very important for the type of culture and society that we live in now. All right.
Yeah, there's something in your background that's making a sound. And I was trying to figure out where it was coming from. It ended up being you. Okay, so what I want to do right now is get ready to wrap up. And we do polls when we have our events. So I'm going to put a poll up regarding our speaker, Abdul Muhammad. And if you guys would take a moment and just respond to that poll. And I also want to remind you, as I mentioned, I put a 10-point outline about what you need to do as it relates to leveraging the release of your book to elevate the awareness, engage audience, and generate media coverage and revenue. And just to kind of give you an example of what's there, point one is, a pre-launch buzz. So you've got to get that going, teasers, sneak peeks, countdowns on social media as an example. You can collaborate with influencers and bloggers. One of the things I will say to you right off the bat, there are two words that are extremely important, I think, in anything that we do today when you are marketing, to the marketplace. One is collaboration. It'd be criminal not to be a intentional, purposeful collaborator. There's many ways to expand your reach by collaborating with people who are like-minded, similarly positioned, and are interested in the kind of things that you're doing, because everybody today has, if you will, an audience. Not everybody's audience is the same size, but if you're on any social media, you have followers and connections on LinkedIn and Facebook and IG and so on and so forth. So collaborate. You want to have a launch event, for the book. You got to do media outreach. So you need a media strategist, like Jackie and Abdul Muhammad. Social media campaign, the kind of things that Abdul helps with. Strategic partnerships. We talked about, the collaboration. There may be organizations that fit what your book is about, and you should take advantage of the opportunities to partner with them. They may also co-host an event for you. Content marketing. Use some of the content in your book and, do, if you will, post with that content, come up with something creative. Also, speaking engagements. And the last two things I'll say here was digital advertising and community building. Also, one of the things that you heard from Abdul that I also want to just kind of drive home for you guys is this. Uniqueness, we all have heard, and everybody knows what the UVP is. Anybody know what a UVP is? Okay, Roger, UVP, what is that?
Unique value proposition.
So I bring it up because it's so critical. Many times, we see people doing something that's a little bit off center. And, we respond to it in whatever way that makes sense for us or how we feel or how we think. But it is those things that actually many times is what makes you remember somebody. When somebody does something a little bit different than what you expect, that gets your attention. And that also is probably a part of their UVP. And it's also a part of their authenticity, because we don't want to be all alike. Okay. Why do we listen to Stephen A. Smith? You may sometimes like, man, if you don't stop shouting at me and your energy is just killing me, I can't stand it anymore. But you know what? The next day you're right back on, what is it? I forget the name of the show. But anyway, the point being is that, Dick Vitale, for years, he was that white guy on sports, and he just blah, 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 blah. And I mean, he's talking like 10,000 decibels over the volume. But the point I'm making is your authenticity is your unique value proposition. So whatever that is, it doesn't mean that you got to shout at people. Your authenticity might be that you speak kind of quietly, but what you say is so impactful that people strain to listen to hear what he just said. So whatever your authenticity is, who you are, your personality, allow that to be your unique value proposition and lean into it. Understand it, use it, apply it, and lean into it. So we thank you for being here today for ICABA Biz Connect, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. And have a great day. And thank you, Abdul, for kind of stepping up, my brother. And you guys have the rest of the week, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.